Jahao, my name is Garrick, and welcome back to Taiwan, Lao Wai. Like the fancy duds? I like them. I've actually had these for a while, but I never really got a chance to use them. I got these when I thought I was going to China instead of Taiwan. Unfortunately, the time I thought I was going to go to China was right when COVID shut everything down, so plans derailed a little bit. Not to worry, we made our way to Taiwan instead, and I think it all worked out for the best. But anyway, in case you can't tell by the fancy duds and the fact that we are once again in Taipei, it is time to continue our mission Michelin. Slowly but surely, we are making our way to eat at every Michelin recommended restaurant in Taipei. And boy, oh boy, do we have a special one tonight. So those of you who've been following this video series for a while know we like to spend time at the Michelin bib restaurants. They're the places that sell food at a very affordable price, maybe not absolutely world-class, but still excellent bang for buck. You all to know we have paid a few visits to the one-star Michelin restaurants, the first step in the most exclusive eateries on the face of the planet. Today, however, we are doing something entirely new. For the first time, my friends, we are visiting a 2-star Michelin restaurant. That's right, we are climbing up a rung to some of the most exceptional, out-of-this-world places you can possibly put a fork in your mouth inside. 2-star Michelin restaurants are very chef-driven, extremely unique, like nothing else you will eat anywhere else, and the quality of the food and service and everything is, of course, god-dang top tier. I have never eaten at a restaurant of this caliber before, so I don't know what to expect. Well, I do expect it to be delicious, at least. I hope that's a given. Anyways, our 2-star destination tonight is Molino de Urdániz, a Spanish contemporary restaurant smack dab in the heart of Taipei City. It's run, I believe, by a pair of chefs, but other than that, I don't know too much about it. I have also not eaten much Spanish food in my life, certainly not at this level, so it's going to be a very new experience all around. I do love tapas though, so that gives me high hopes for what's to come. God, I'm excited. This is so cool. It's gonna be awesome. I'm a little jazzed right now because I pretty much just got back from vacation a couple days ago. Sadly, this is not a vacation you're gonna get to see on this channel. It was a me vacation. Believe it or not, I do need to take some time for myself every now and then. I am not a 24/7 content producing machine. But yeah, I went on vacation in Japan. It was so much fun and also very exhausting, so glad to be back in the old stomping grounds. And what better way to celebrate than with a dinner sure to blow my god-dang socks off. But that's enough yapping from me. We still got to get to the actual restaurant, so I'm gonna put the phone down. I will see you once we have reached Le Grand Destination. Why am I speaking French? I'm going to a Spanish restaurant.
Many hours later.
14 courses. That meal was 14 fucking courses. Oh my god, I have never been this full in my life. I feel like a piñata. I feel like you hit me with a stick and I'm just gonna explode with all the goodies I just ate. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. What did I get myself into? Well, I was hoping for something a little extra special with my first 2-star Michelin experience, and boy did I get it. I'm not even kidding. I feel like I'm about to explode. I'm so full. Okay, so that was freaking incredible. I can barely talk. That was amazing. Okay, clearly I am too food drunk to be making coherent sentences right now. I gotta get back home and sleep, and I'll give you the more extensive rundown in the morning. But yes, genuinely fantastic meal. Fantastic evening. Just gotta try to not let it murder me on the way back. Good night, everybody. See you in the morning, if I'm still alive by then.
One day later.
Well, the good news is I'm not dead. yet. That may change. The bad news is I am still stuffed to the gills from last night. It's been a good 24 hours or so. It's like 5 o'clock right now the next day. Still feeling the after effects. That is truly what you'd call a once-in-a-lifetime meal, because if you have it more than once, your lifetime is gonna be a lot shorter all of a sudden. Also, if you see, we're back at Chi Po Pi Tong Shan Tai Park. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I showed you this place in one of my earliest videos, so it's very fun to be walking back here again. Does look a little bit like rain in the sky. Forecast says it probably won't come down. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed for that. Everybody cross your fingers with me. Cross your fingers. You're crossing them? You're crossing your fingers in the comments? Good. Where do I even start? Well, like I said, the restaurant itself was inside Hotel Mivsa, and you actually have to take an elevator to go down to it. That's how you know it's exclusive. They keep it guarded, and you have to wait in the hotel lobby until it's time, then they'll guide you to the elevator when your reservation comes around. They do not want to risk anybody sneaking in at all. As you might expect, the restaurant itself is pretty small, only a few tables, very exclusive. I do love all the artwork hanging up on the walls. What surprised me the most, though, was finding out that this restaurant I went to was actually a branch of the main restaurant back in Spain. Yeah, the original Molino de Urdániz is, I believe, in Urdániz, which is either a town or a city or a borough or something like that, close to the north of Spain, near the mountains. And they have been working with a Michelin star for the good part of 20 years at this point, close to it. They only recently opened this new branch in Taiwan, and it very quickly gathered its own collection of Michelin stars as well. So being able to do that in 2 separate locations, halfway across the globe, that's really impressive. Someday I may have to visit Spain and check out the original place, see how they stack up against each other. Oh, that would be a pipe dream. At any rate, service was spectacular throughout the night. The waiters and servers were all very attentive to my needs. If my water glass got a single percentage below halfway full, they would top it back up for me. Good stuff. You get new silverware for every course, they brush the crumbs off your tablecloth if it gets too dirty, that sort of thing. It was a little intimidating, not gonna lie. It feels like one of those places where you can't move around too much, you'll upset the established order, but I had a good time regardless. I mean, it is 2-star Michelin, you pay for the experience of eating like a king, and that is definitely what I got. And speaking of eating like a king, I think it's time we start talking about the food, which was, again, 14 fucking courses. And it was not 14 courses of familiar, understandable, easily digestible food. This was whiz bang wham right from the get-go. Like, you want to know what the first course was? Paprika candy. Course number 1, paprika candy. That's where we start. Okay, to be more specific, it was paprika candy, sort of like a spun sugar shell wrapped around a sausage mousse. The sausage they used is called chistorra, which I believe is similar to chorizo. I don't know that much about it, but it is part of Basque cuisine, which this restaurant obviously pulls a lot from. So you have this weird, fragrant, aromatic, sweet paprika spun sugar shell around this very comforting, very salty, very umami mousse of sausage. And you'd think that shouldn't work. Like, you got this sweet spun candy shell around meat, like a mousse, a pate. That should be disgusting, right? But somehow they got the candy shell to be more savory, and they got the mousse to be more sweet, and they balance each other perfectly. It was sweet, but it wasn't dessert, and it was meaty, but it wasn't an entree. It was in this weird space in between where somehow it was both and neither at the same time, and it was so good! Texturally, too, the spun sugar was very crispy, very crackly. It shatters the moment you bite into it. Then you get into the mousse, very silky, very smooth, very unctuous. For just a small 2-bite amuse-bouche, I will be thinking about that for a long time. That is genuinely impressive. And again, that's course 1. We still got 13 more to go. Actually, maybe put that closer to 14 more, because they had bread as well, and that doesn't technically count as a course, but it's bread. I'm starting to think that the bread in Michelin restaurants may be a strategy, because one of the stereotypes you hear about, like, 5-star whatever meals like this is that they're not filling. It's a very old joke, and I'm not sure how true it is, but the conception I sometimes get is that, you eat this enormous, full 10, 15 course meal, whatever, and then when you're done, you go out and get a cheeseburger because you're still hungry and it doesn't fill you up. And I think some of these restaurants use bread to strategize around it. They say, okay,
whatever you don't fill up on the rest of the meal, you'll fill up on bread, and then you'll be fully satisfied. I don't know how true that is, but as a certified restaurant bread lover myself, keep it coming. Of course, the bread itself is friggin' fantastic. It's that very nutty, grain-forward kind of bread you typically find at Michelin restaurants, baked fresh. And I really loved the olive oil and balsamic that came to dip it in. The olive oil was very strongly bitter, like you can tell they had marinated those things for a long time. And by contrast, the balsamic vinegar, very sweet, very fruity. So you dip the bread in both and it balances out and you have yourself a very satisfying bite. I went through 4 pieces overall. I'm not sure how many they would allow me to have, but it's probably a good idea I stopped there, otherwise I actually would explode. After all, we're just getting started, and it's time for course 2. This is a fascinating little plate. Supposedly it's designed to look like the garden of the original restaurant back in Spain. So you have these very thin wrapped lines of pickled cucumbers standing in for the trees. The rocks and soil are little pearls made up of cheese and oyster, of all things. And you have these dots of green parsley cream as well, and the idea is to mix them up on your plate and eat it all together. Just like the first course, it's lots of different textures, lots of different flavors, all playing off of each other. You got the punch of vinegar tanginess from the cucumber, then you got this very intense, funky saltiness from the little cheese pearls, and then a bit of freshness from the parsley cream. You put it all together and it's super addicting. Honestly, I wish there was more. As delicious as it was, I wanted like one more stalk of cucumber tree, because it was sort of overbalanced by the other elements a little bit, which I realize is an extreme nitpick. I'm aware of that. I'm splitting hairs at this point because I can. That's the caliber of restaurant we're at. But I don't know, I just felt like I ran out of the cucumber faster than the other elements, and I think just having one more little roll on that plate would help be able to eat all those flavors all together to the end of the dish. Whatever, still delicious, still exciting, still new and fresh and wonderful. Moving on. Course 3, one of my favorites of the night. It was an egg custard. I don't think it was quite the chawanmushi style, but it's very warm, silken, silky, easily spoonable. And it was served with all these local greens and a very intense veggie sauce, as well as just a touch of smoked anchovy, of all things. And the overall combination was just mesmerizing. I have never eaten a vegetable-forward dish that tasted so meaty and intense before. I think the smoked anchovy is what did it, just that little hint of smoky brininess tied together all those flavors and made it a lot more intense. But it made those vegetables so flippin' savory while still being fresh and green and all that good stuff. This is one of those dishes where I wish they had like a more casual restaurant where you could just go in and order a bowl of this whenever. It's the kind of thing I want to eat more of and I want to taste more of because it's so unique and exciting and delicious. I hope that's a mainstay on their menu, I really do, because it deserves to be eaten by as many people as possible. Course 4 was crab, and it was served with this very delicious ginger dashi. This is a classic Asian soup stock. You basically put in kombu, which is dried seaweed, and bonito flakes, and you marinate it for a while like you would any stock, and you have yourself a very salt-forward, delicious broth. But in this case, I think they whipped it up with ginger cream so it's got a lot of body and it's very foamy. And you mix that up with the crab and you eat it all together and it's mwah! It's just mwah! I really do want to shout out the sauce work, particularly from this restaurant, because every single sauce on every single dish was just majestic. Crab alone, of course, plenty delicious, but you mix it with that stock, that dashi, that cream, whatever it was, takes it up to the next level. It keeps the freshness of the crab itself and the sweetness while imbuing it with this brininess and scentedness of the sea at the same time. Another dish I did not want to stop eating ever. That's going to be a bit of a theme with this restaurant with a lot of the dishes, I think. Course 5 was a palate cleanser. Ajo Blanco, which is a almond-based cold soup that I think is served as dessert, usually, in Spanish cuisine. In this case, it came ringed in this very thick coconut whipped cream sort of thing, and topped with these little slices of apple marinated to be super sour and puckery. So you got that nutty sweetness, that very mellow sweetness from the soup and the coconut cream, and then it's punctuated by that very sour, punchy sweetness from the little slices of apple. Again, a great use of contrasting flavors and textures and all that nonsense. Every bite of these dishes feels like a tiny symphony playing in your mouth. It's great. And after that brief respite, it was time to move on to the entrees. Course number 6, scallop crudo. Thin slices of raw scallop served with this very funky beurre blanc style sauce infused with koji mushrooms. Once again, I have to shout out how incredible the sauce work is, because the sauce itself was so unctuous and buttery and fatty, but it somehow didn't overwhelm the scallops either. They always get this perfect frickin' balance, and I don't know how they do it. They also add a little dried scallop powder on top, which I thought was a very nice touch. Don't have too much to say about that course, but I still thought it was very lovely. Course 7, though, now we're getting interesting again. We have a piece of pork skin rolled around a squid cream, served in a squid-imbued consommé with little dots of caviar on top. And what's fascinating is how they prepared the pork skin itself. Whenever I've eaten pork skin before, it's been like cracklins, chicharrones, that sort of thing. But this one, they kept it chewy. They kept it sort of that initial consistency of skin, but they cooked it or marinated it or something long enough that it lost all of its leatheriness, and it's still, chewy and toothsome, but it's not unpleasant to sink your teeth into. I'm honestly struggling to figure out how to describe it. I guess the closest would be like, it is a little pork gummy, almost. Like the consistency of a gummy you'd get at the store, but like pork. Again, no idea how they come up with all these wild ideas for combining flavors and textures, but goddamn. Now, believe it or not, I actually do have a little complaint about this dish, and it's not about the flavors, but it's about the way you eat it. Because the way they plated it, you have to sort of saw through the pork skin to get a big bite with the skin and the cream it's wrapped around with the soup. And it's hard to do it. You really have to eat with your spoon to get into it. And because it's so delicate, what it does is it squashes all of that squid cream out to dissolve into the soup. And that sucks because it's so delicious altogether. Super intense salty soup, but super sweet, sort of mellow cream. It works so well together, but the way you have to cut into it to get all that bite makes a lot of that cream dissolve, and it lessens the impact. I want to taste all those flavors together so much more. I don't know what the solution to that would be, but I felt like I only got like 85% of that dish, and I wanted 100% because it was so good what I got. On the other hand, it is a good sign that my only complaint thus far is it was so good I wish there was more of it, in a way. Luckily, that's not a complaint I have about course 8, which was our lobster course for the evening. And yes, it's very lovely ruby red. It's got a little beetroot soup that it's sitting in with some very intense pickled onions dotted through. Like the scallops, it's another very simple dish. It lets the lobster sort of speak for itself with accents from the other ingredients. But I want to shout out how tender the lobster was. Like, most of the time when I eat lobster, it's kind of blubbery and not pleasant to bite through, but this stuff, really tender, really easy to get your teeth through. This is how lobster should be, and it's wild to me that this is the first time I've really tasted it the way it should be, I feel like. But we don't stay simple for long. Course 9 once again kicks us back into wild gear with a dish based around fish skin. This is the Taiwanese milkfish. They took off the skin, prepared it, I think, similarly to how they did the pork skin, because it had that same sort of chewy, toothsome, but easy to bite through quality to it. And then they took the flesh of the fish, made it into a mousse with some garlic, and put a nice, delicious, unctuous pepper sauce over the whole thing. And you'll have to excuse me because it's starting to rain. I need to find myself some cover. Give me a sec. Ooh. This is what I get for going out without an umbrella. This was another fantastic plate of food, and I want to, once again, shout out the pepper sauce. It was probably the best sauce of the night. Truly an explosion of flavor. It picked up those fish flavors in the cream and woke them up so much. And then you add in the fish skin for a bit of extra chewy texture, and it all comes together exceptionally. Also, the fish skin was a lot easier to cut through with a spoon than the pork skin, so the foam, the cream stayed together much more consistently. Good stuff. Oh, sorry, we gotta pause for Bird. Hello, Bird. How you doing, Bird? Nice to meet you, Bird. I was right up next to that guy. The birds here have no fear at all. On to course 10, fish course, fish of the day, in this case, grouper. Served with some nori on top, some oyster sauce, and I mean like sauce filled with oysters, and a few little blobs of mashed taro on the side as well. If I had to pick a weakest dish of the night, this would probably be it. Not by a wide margin, just didn't think there was quite as much going on here as in the other plates. Once you got past the nori and the sauce, the fish itself did not have as much going on. on. And also, I didn't care for the taro. I think I just don't like taro as a matter of course. Not the dish's fault, it's mine. I still liked it, but between the two big fish courses, I preferred the one with the fish skin that came before. Luckily, that was followed with what might be my favorite course of the night. Which is strange because it's chicken breast, and you normally wouldn't think of that as a very high-class or exciting kind of protein. But the way they prepared this chicken, oh my god. I don't know how they prepared it, what they did to cook it, but it took on this steaky quality almost. They somehow took white meat and they turned it into the intensity and the unctuousness of dark meat without losing what makes white meat special in the process. That's crazy! Like, I'm genuinely kind of astounded. I don't know how they pulled it off. I don't know what cooking technique they used. I have never eaten chicken breast like this before. I didn't even know it was possible to get chicken breast like this. Keep in mind, this is course 11. I was so full at this point, I was afraid I was gonna throw up. I still could not stop eating. That's how friggin' delicious it was. Also, hang on a sec, I think the rain has finally caught up to us. Let me find some cover before I continue.
5 minutes later.
Alright, it's still raining, but I think the worst of it is past, so we're gonna keep going. Swear to God, this weather is teasing me today. It's on and off and on and off. If nothing else, it is keeping the temperature down, so thank you for that. So, back to the chicken. It was served alongside a mousse of the other meat from the chicken, I assume. And what's very exciting is on that mousse, they had a little dusting of cocoa from Taiwan. I didn't know they produced chocolate in Taiwan, but apparently they do. This comes down from Pingtung County, which, if you remember, is where I went on vacation at Kending Beach all those many, many videos ago. So we got this bitter Taiwanese chocolate on this luscious chicken mousse alongside this very meaty chicken, all served with a very salty, savory jus to tie it all together. And it was spectacular! Every single bite I had of this, going from the mousse to the chicken to the mousse to the chicken, I never wanted to stop eating. Perfection on a plate. That's really all I can say about it. In fact, I almost didn't need little shavings of black truffle they put on top. I barely noticed them. The dish was already perfect. It did not need any more gilding. That just goes to show what a good dang job this place does with its ingredients. And finally, 11 courses in, we reach the desserts. Course 12, pineapple ice cream encased in this little doughy shell with peanut sauce, shaved peanut, and some cilantro. This is in the style of those ice cream rolls you might find at a Taiwanese night market or something, where they'll take ice cream, they'll roll it up in a crepe with crushed peanuts and cilantro. It's a very interesting way to eat ice cream, and this dish captured the essence of it perfectly. You got the really sharp pineapple contrasting with the very mellow, nutty peanuts with a little pop of cilantro that sort of comes out of nowhere and goes, woo! And the little dough shell itself was fried donut perfection. Mwah! Once again, I say mwah. Then we get to course 13, and it's like nothing I have ever had. White miso and black garlic ice cream. Yes, I shit you not, that was the flavor profile for this ice cream. White miso and black garlic. And the crispy nori they served on top was dotted with little lemon dust, lemon zest as well. Really think about that. We have miso and funky black garlic and nori in a dessert all together with lemon. How does that work? Well, to my shock, it works really well. Somehow, all of those funky flavors really play well with the sweetness of ice cream. They're subtle enough not to be overwhelming, but they have that little hint that keeps refreshing your palate and keeps making you go, wait, what's that flavor? Wait, what's that flavor? Wait, what's that flavor? It's like it keeps your tongue awake as you eat and you eat and you eat. I'm shocked this worked. It should not have worked, but it worked. Crazy. Then at last, a few pieces of confectionery to close out the night. We got a mini cannelé, a lemon marshmallow, a little sticky honey lollipop, and a chocolate truffle. And some tea to help wash it all down. My favorite was probably the lemon marshmallow. I think I really like lemon marshmallows, I have found. Like the nutty bread, it's one of those things that Michelin restaurants just keep doing, and I'm not complaining, it's delicious every time. But now, at long last, with my stomach about to bubble off into the sky, the feast was over. All told, it took about 2 hours and 20 minutes to polish it off with new courses coming pretty regularly, every 10 minutes or so. The fact that I did not explode Monty Python's Life of Brian style is kind of a miracle. The fact that I have not exploded at all since then, also kind of a miracle. So, all things told, all dishes eaten, and all things put down, what is my final verdict on Molino de Urdániz? Well, as my first experience into the world of 2-star Michelin restaurants, all I gotta say is, mission accomplished. It was indeed a step above the 1 Michelin star restaurants in terms of complexity, in terms of presentation, in terms of creativity, and almost every single dish felt like it was changing my knowledge a little bit about what food is even capable of. And that's why we go to Michelin restaurants. That's why we subject ourselves to these belly-bursting experiences. It's to experience things you never have before and likely never will again. And Molino de Urdániz accomplished that with flying colors. It was, of course, extremely expensive. My 14-course set meal set me back 6,830 NTD. One of the priciest Michelin meals I've had, but again, 14 courses, it's to be expected a little. There are wine pairings as well that you can add to the experience. I decided not to because, you know me, I prefer cocktails over wine. I did not feel like I was missing much, but if you're a wine person and you want to toss a few more bucks on the pile, feel free. As for me, I'm just relieved to be home at last. Glad to be back in Taiwan. It is definitely going to be a long time before we eat at a restaurant this fancy again, so hope you can be patient with me. For now, I just gotta get myself back into the routine, get myself out and about some more, and we're gonna have plenty more videos coming your way. For now, though, I gotta go make myself some dinner, because believe it or not, it's been over a full day since I sat down to eat last night, and I'm finally getting hungry again. Praise be, everybody. Praise be. Once again, thank you so much for joining me at Taiwan Lao Wai. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, smash the bell, share with your friends, all that good stuff. And as always, I'll see you next time. 再见. Bye-bye.